I'm going to be walking you through the steps on how to install the replacement kit on Lee Loadmaster for a KSM light kit. I already had a KSM light kit on here and I managed to screw it up, so that's why I'm installing the replacement kit and not the whole brand new thing. Just kind of pull the machine apart. I found it easier to work with when it was off the bench instead of on it, so disconnect it and get it so you can flip it over. It's easier to get to the light. I'm sure you could put it on if you didn't pull it from the bench, but that just seemed like an awful lot of extra work, so I took mine off. See that it's plugged in with two wires there. One is for the KSM squared UFO light. The other one is for a LED that's in the carrier there, and that is to let me know that when a case comes through and does not have a primer in it. These machines here, if they've got any one drawback, it is the priming system. It's finicky, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It works well, but you have to keep an eye on it. You can't expect it to always prime a case, so that's how I keep an eye out. I'm removing the primer blast shield because I'm going to flip the machine over, set it upside down. It's going to sit a little flatter that way. There you go. And this right here, that's the culprit. Those two black lines that you see right there, that's where the shells slide through. I had a shell not fully slide, raise the carrier, and it ripped that LED strip right in half. So that's why we're replacing this thing. This one that I'm replacing here, I'm removing from the machine. It's one of the earlier versions of it they had where the light is a full 360. You'll see the replacement one that I purchased. It does not have LEDs in that portion that is in between the two Sharpie lines that I made there. I guess it was a common enough problem that they found a solution for it, and I'm more than happy to buy the replacement. This is an absolutely fantastic product. If you buy this kit new and then you need to install it yourself, those little squares there that I've got the zip ties attached to, you've got to add those yourself, and that's not a big deal. You just prep the surface and stick them on. The instructions tell you where to put it. They come with the zip ties and everything. You just attach it down. The other set of wires that you're seeing, I'll show you a better picture of that at the end of the video, so if you want to know how that works, stick around. But that is attached to the same zip tie attachments there. So as you can see, there's a gap in a portion of that LED ring, and that's going to leave us a nice little spot there in case a shell doesn't sit the way it's supposed to sit, like it did for me and cut my LEDs in half. And it's always a good idea, plug something in, test it out before you install it, because if for some reason it doesn't work out of the box, you find out long before you install it. But now that that's done, let's prep the surface. Tried Goo Gone first. Whatever glue they put on those things, the Goo Gone did not do as good of a job as I thought it was gonna. So worked on that for a little while and gave up. Went to the good stuff. I haven't found a glue yet that denatured alcohol can't get through, so scrubbed on that for a little bit and it was ready to go. This has one of those sticky backs that's pretty forgiving, that until you press on it pretty firm, you can kind of wiggle it around a little bit and get it into place, so you don't have to panic that the second it touches your prep surface, it's going to stick and never come back. So you can kind of shove it around a little and get it positioned just right. I found my largest concern was I wanted to make sure that gap was not going to fall inside of the area that cases could come up and then split that LED ring in half again. So I'm making sure that I shove it as far out as I can. And that's pretty much it. Just kind of tamper down, and then all you got to do is zip tie it up. And while the me in the past is putting on zip ties, the me of the present will explain to the you of the future what's going on with that LED light that's in the shell carrier there. That is a 12-volt LED that plugs into the same power supply as the KMS light. It is positioned right underneath station 3, so that if you have a shell that goes through resizing and ends up underneath the powder through, and it does not have a primer in it, you will see light coming up through the bottom of the case. And for that maybe 1 in 100 or 2 in 100 shells that comes through that doesn't have a primer in it, that'll give you a warning, and you don't have to go through all the trouble of putting powder in it and losing powder. So I found it to be a pretty useful addition to the machine. Again, if you stick through the end of the video, I'll show you a little bit of how that works and how you notice what you're looking at when it works properly. So if you're interested, stick around. So to install what I'm going to call the missing primer LED, I drilled a hole in the side of the carrier there, fished my wires through, and then set that light up exactly where I liked it. I'd put a shell plate on it and run cases over it and see how the light shined through best. And then I just hot glued it in there. That is all that I did. That's the only thing that holds it in there. And it's probably for 10,000 rounds it's been in there doing that. And it has not given me any trouble since. Just plug it in and it works. So we're going to mount this to the bench, plug it in, make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. But if you've got yourself a Loadmaster and you've been setting up lights all around you so that you can see your shell plate, I'm going to highly recommend that you look into one of these lights. I absolutely love it. It's made reloading an absolute dream. It's usually really dark underneath all that 5-hole turret on the top. There's no real good way to get light in there, and I found this light ring to be the best way to do it. So check it out if you got one. The first light to come on here is going to be the primer light, and then get ready to put some sunglasses on. Look at that. That's bright. That makes life easier right there. So the first case on display does have a primer. Now this one does not. And actually it's very hard to see on camera, but you see blue light coming through there and being reflected on the inside of the case. And that right there is 2 helpful mods that you can do to your Loadmaster if you're interested in doing so. So hope you found this useful. Hope any of this is helpful for somebody out there. And if you got any questions, drop them down below. And thank you very much for watching.
Kitty, kitty!